Good morning everybody, here we are again at Jackanory time and I'm sat here at the breakfast table in the Cranky's household as they decide what to do next with George's marvellous medicine. Just a recap, Mr Cranky and Mrs Cranky came home yesterday and they were shocked to find what they did. The huge hen and Grandma's head sticking out of the roof. Remember that Grandma was eventually pulled out by a giant crane and she's having to spend her time in the hay barn. And well, Mrs Cranky's a little sad and worried at the moment to think about all that. But interestingly, Mr Cranky thinks it's a fabulous idea, this special medicine. So him and George have been testing it out on the range of different animals. Remember the bulls and sheep and pigs from yesterday? In fact, I think it's fair to say they've got a giant set of farm animals on their special farm right now. So let's pick up today's Jackanory. This is called Mr Cranky's Great Idea. The next day, George's father came down to breakfast in a state of greater excitement than ever. "I've been awake all night," he cried. "About what, Dad?" George asked him. "About marvellous medicine, of course," and he sat down to eat his breakfast at the same time. "We can't stop now, my boy. We must start making more of it at once. More and more and more and more and more." George was a little unsure about this craziness. The giant saucepan had been completely emptied the day before because there had been so many sheep and pigs and cows and bulls to be dosed, so there was none of that medicine left. "But, Dad, why do we need more medicine?" George asked. "We've done all our own animals and we've made Grandma feel as frisky as a ferret, even though she does have to live in the barn now." "My dear boy," cried Mr Killy Cranky, "we need barrels and barrels and barrels of it. Tons and tons and tons of it. Then we will sell it to every farmer in the entire world so that all of them can have giant animals. It'll be amazing. We'll build a marvellous medicine factory and we'll sell the stuff in bottles and it will be £5 per bottle. We're going to become rich. We will become famous. It will be amazing." "Dad," said George, "just wait a minute." "Waiting? Son, there's no waiting," cried Mr Cranky, working himself up so much that he put butter in his coffee and milk on his toast. "Don't you understand, son, what a tremendous invention of yours is going to do to the world? Nobody is ever going to be hungry again. Animals across the world will be so huge they'll feed entire populations." Why won't they go hungry then?" asked George. "Because you see, one giant cow will give 50 buckets of milk a day. Just think about that. One giant chicken will make 100 fried chicken dinners. And one giant pig will give you 1,000 pork chops. It's tremendous. It's fantastic. We're going to change the world." "But, Dad, you see, wait, just wait a minute." "Now don't keep saying wait a minute, boy," shouted Mr Cranky. "This isn't a minute to wait. We must get cracking. We must get cracking at once." "Do calm down, my dear," said Mrs Cranky from over the other end of the table. "And do me a favour, stop putting marmalade on your cornflakes and concentrate on what you're doing." "Oh, the heck with cornflakes," cried Mr Cranky, leaping up from his chair. "Come on, George," and he grabbed him. "Let's get going. And the first thing we'll do is make one more saucepan full as a special tester." "Dad, the trouble is..." "There won't be trouble anymore, my boy," cried Mr Cranky. "How can there possibly be trouble at all now? All you've got to do is put exactly the same stuff in the saucepan that you did yesterday. And while you're doing it, I'm going to write down each and every single item. That's how we'll get the magic recipe. But Dad, George said, you see, please listen to me right now. Why don't you listen to him, Mrs. Cranky said. Are the boys trying to tell you something? But the problem was, Mr. Cranky was too excited to listen to anyone except himself. And then, he cried, when the new mixture is ready, we're going to test it out on an old chicken. Just to make sure we've got it right. And after that, we'll all shout hooray and we'll build a giant factory. Brilliant. Dad, said George, come on then, what is it you want to say? I can't remember all the things I put in the saucepan to make the medicine. Oh, of course you can, my dear boy. I'll help you. I'll jog your memory. You'll get it in the end, you see if you don't. Now then, what was the very first thing you put in there, George? Well, Dad, I went up to the bathroom first. I used a lot of things in the bathroom and on Mummy's dressing table. Come on then, cried Mr. Killicranky. Up we go to the bathroom. So, when they got there, they found, of course, a whole lot of empty tubes, empty aerosols and empty bottles. That's great, said Mr. Cranky. That tells us exactly what you used. If anything's empty, it means that you must have used it. So Mr. Cranky started making a list of everything that was empty in the bathroom. Then they went to Mrs. Cranky's dressing table. A box of powder, said Mr. Cranky, writing it down. Helga's hair set, flowers of turnips, perfume. Terrific. This is going to be easy. Where did you go next, George? To the laundry room. But are you sure we haven't missed anything out up here, Dad? That's up to you, my boy, Mr. Cranky said. Have we missed anything? I don't think so, George said. So down they went to the laundry room, and once again Mr. Cranky wrote down the names of all the empty bottles and all the empty cans. My goodness me, what a mass of stuff he used, he cried. No wonder it did magic things. Is that the lot? No, Dad, it isn't. And he led his father out to the shed where the animal medicines were kept and showed him the 5 big empty bottles on the shelf that they'd used before. Mr. Cranky wrote down all the names of all the animal pills. So, anything else, George? Little George scratched his head and he thought, but he couldn't remember having put anything else in. Mr. Killicranky leapt into his car and drove down to the village. He bought new bottles, he bought new tubes, he bought new cans of everything on his list, and then he pulled up at the vet's and got a fresh supply of all the animal medicines George had used. Then he drove back to the farm, and when he got back to the farm and parked the car, he said, "Now, George, now we've got everything laid out for the medicine. Show me exactly how you mix them all together. We're going to make Marvellous Medicine number 2. Marvellous Medicine number 2 coming up. Let's see if they've made it exactly the same way George made the first one. I think if anything, Dad's crazier than George was. Well, stay tuned, because tomorrow we will find out about Marvellous Medicine number 2 and the effect it has on all those who take it. Stay tuned, stay safe, see you tomorrow. Take care.